All right, so the thing to remember with 3 equations and 3 unknowns is that you're going to use, here are the 3 equations in the example in the book. And what you're going to want to do is use one of the equations, and the book chooses this equation, to remove a variable from the other 2 equations. So if I want to use this equation with this one and this equation with that one, then I'll be done with this one for now. So when I want to use this equation to cancel a variable here, I'm going to go ahead and cancel x's. So I want to multiply this whole thing by 2, every piece of it by 2. And that would give me negative 2x plus 10y plus 6z equals negative 20. So that's what I would do there. And then over here, I would multiply by 3, so I could match the 3. We get negative 3x plus 15y plus 9z equals negative 30. So that's what I'm going to do there. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and do the equations so that I'm going to get rid of this. So you can see that we've reduced, we no longer have an x. So if I add these equations together, 2, negative 2, that'd be 0x. 3y and 10y is 13y plus 5z equals negative 21. And then the other one will be 14y plus 3z equals negative 25. Now we have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. The thing to remember is that we started off with 3 equations and 3 things we didn't know. You have to have the same number of equations as things you don't know in order to solve. So if I have 2 unknowns, I have a y that I don't know and a z I don't know, I need 2 different equations, and that will pin it down to 1 point. And when I started, I had 3 equations that I didn't know, or 3 variables I didn't know, x, y, and z, and I had 3 equations, so I know I can solve for them. So now I'm going to go ahead and use this equation and this equation together. I'm going to get rid of my z's, so I'm going to multiply this one by 3 and this one by 5. So this will be 39y plus 13z equals negative 63. I'm sorry, plus 15z equals negative 63. 39y plus 15z equals negative 63. And this one would be 70y plus 15z equals negative 25. I believe that's, let me just check it because it's easy to make mistakes with this. You have to be very careful the whole way through. 15z. Great, now, oh, this shouldn't be 25, this should be 125. Because 5 times 25 is 125. So you have to be very careful. Those type of mistakes will get you on this. So in this situation, I got to subtract one from the other because 15z minus 15z would give me 0z, which is what I'm looking for. So 39y minus 70y would give me 31y, a negative 31y. And negative 63 minus negative 125 would give me a positive 62. So then I divide both sides by negative 31. And y equals negative 2. Well, now that I know y, I could shove this into either equation, this one or this one, to get z. So I'm going to go ahead and take it and put it into that one. So I'm going to get negative 28, because 14 times negative 2 is negative 28, plus 3z equals negative 25. So I'm going to add 28 to both sides. I get 3z equals 3. I mean, z must equal 1. There's my next answer. And then lastly, I need to find my x, so I'm going to shove this into, I can shove this point, this y and this z into any of these. I'll go ahead and shove it here. So I get 2x plus negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6, minus z, which is negative 1, equals negative 1. So I get 2x minus 7, so minus 7 plus, so equals 6. That means x equals 3. Now when we write down our answer, we always write it down the same way. We always say x, comma, y, comma, z. So this would be 3, comma, negative 2, comma, 1. And that would be my answer. Although there's a big messy board, that's how you do it. You might need to watch that multiple times. The most common error to make here is that you have to figure out whether you're adding equations or subtracting equations. For example, here I have a 2x and a negative 2x. I need to add those two values together in order to get rid of that x. But if I add these two values together, I got to make sure I add every other set of values together. Conversely, here I have a 15z and a 15z. If I add it, I get 30z. That's not helpful. So I need to subtract the bottom one. But if I'm going to subtract the bottom one, I have to make sure I subtract every bottom one. So 39y minus 70, 15z minus 15z, negative 63 minus a negative 125. This is the one that's going to get you. You're going to need to subtract a negative and you're not going to flip it to a positive. That's the most common mistake. So the errors that you're going to, or like I did earlier, multiplying through by a number. Like here I multiplied this whole thing by 5, but I didn't multiply the last thing by 5 because I wasn't paying attention. That's going to be very common errors with this, so you want to be very careful. It's better to go slowly and do a good job double checking than to have to rework a problem 3 times. And believe me, that can happen, and it's not fun. Good luck.